Color grading isn't about just making your videos look pretty, but rather putting in that mood and that emotion that you are trying to put in that video or a footage, or you're doing your client project. And why not include that in a pre-wedding shoot or a wedding video? Basically any kind of video that you're trying to create that mood and trying to make that storytelling much more connecting to your audience or your client or whoever you are trying to make that video or the sequence look amazing. This is something that I've been using for almost 2 years, and let me take you through that process where I'll get that film look. Every editor is kind of running towards it, and every client of yours, be it a professional video or a product shoot or some kind of a commercial which requires you to edit or do a color grade, and you're not a professional color grader, and hence you have to go out there or maybe outsource the color grader, a professional color grader, and get the look that you're trying to. I'm going to take you through this process, and as you see all these shots, they were being color graded with this one little plugin that you can get for yourself and look like a professional color grader. This is a pre-wedding shot, one clip from the pre-wedding shoot that I recently did, and used this plugin which is called Dehancer, and Dehancer is a film emulator plugin. Disclaimer, this video is not sponsored by Dehancer. I have been using this for almost 2 years now, and I've never got any complaint regarding the color grading process. It's simple, quick and easy. Just before we get in, you can color grade your phone videos, you can color grade your action camera videos, you can color grade your professional video, which I am currently shooting right now. It's a Sony a6400, and if you have an S-Log footage, you can definitely color grade any footage, be it a Canon log or Apple log. This plugin has everything for you. By the way, this will save the nightmare of that tree, note tree that every color grader shows you in the tutorials, and this you can actually work within like minutes and achieve that look that you're trying to do. And without any further ado, let's get into it. So all here, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create couple of nodes here, not too many, but just one or few, which because you gotta edit, do some exposure changes before Dehancer. You can always do it before, and you always have an option to do that within this plugin itself, but I like to do it before, little here and there. So one thing we're gonna note, label this node as exposure, the second one as contrast, and the third one is either if basically you probably have to go use a color space transform, because you gotta provide the details to that Dehancer plugin as to which color space you are probably working. Before that, what you need to do is go in your project settings, and in your color management you gotta inform that you are using where is DaVinci Wide Gamut. The color space I generally like to put across here is DaVinci Wide Gamut and intermediate, and on down below I will use Rec 709A. Why A? Because I'm using a MacBook, hence I have to set the settings over here, and then save. This is gonna direct, and this is what it'll let me do is take the most advantage of the S-Log footage that you generally would not be able to do so, because in the S-Log footage you have the ability to work with your shadows, work with your highlights, mid-tones to the fullest. So here what we're going to do is, my color space is as I mentioned, it is taken out from Sony, and so it is Gamut 3.cine and S-Log footage. Where's the S-Log footage? Here it is. Wait, let me just check S-Log, and now I'm gonna give it Rec 709 and Cine film log, because this is the direction that I'm gonna be using in my Dehancer plugin. Before going into this, I will not enable this setting as of now. I'm gonna go to my exposure settings. So here in the exposure tab, I have this gamma. I'm going to set off my exposure over here a little bit. I'm going to bring down my shadows, the lift over here, and the gain a little bit more, which I like to do so. The contrast, I'm going to increase a little bit of contrast here within the set itself. I don't like to go too overboard. Then I'm going to put my transform here, and I'm going to put my Dehancer plugin in the fourth tree. Now, since my color space is Cine and Film log, I will be going here and putting up the thing. I think I did exposure too much. You should probably do it later. I am gonna go back and reset my everything over here. Once you apply this plugin to the node, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna hit option button and compress all these options within. And before moving ahead, I will go down, go into the monitor section and enable clipping indication. What this does is, if you're trying to manipulate or change any of your highlights or the shadows, it will indicate that you are going abroad, you are going beyond a certain settings, and you're losing out on the details in the shadows and the highlights, which I will show you in the coming video. I'm going to close this off, go down to the film. Basically, a lot of people like to stick to Codec Vision 3 because this is more of what the films try to achieve. 250D, 500T. T stands for tungsten, D stands for day. So if you are doing something in the night and indoors, you should probably use the tungsten version. The D stands for the daylight, and there, if you are doing something in the day, it's going to give that warm look and whatever you like to do. And it's got almost around 80 plus of these LUTs that you can probably use. I like to go across, and something that the look that I love is from the Codec Ektar 100, and you can even use the gold version, but let's stick to this. You can always choose how much of this will affect your film. So I'm going to keep it as is and go into the input section. I've already selected Cine and Film log. Here I can even do my exposure settings from here itself. If I don't use these nodes, I can definitely go and choose exposure, the temperature from here itself, and try to achieve that film look that I'm trying to do. Now going down to the film developer, here this film developer is getting more into the contrast and the color separation. Here I like to enable this and go boost the color a little bit more. I like to introduce the contrast and see, you probably should. So if you see all these blue and different colors, the blue noting is that your footage is getting clipped. That particular portion is getting clipped, means you're losing out on the details over there. So you don't have to go overboard. Probably have to shift the sliders here and there to know what's the best suitable visuals you're trying to create. I'm not gonna go too overboard in it, and just leave it as is. Before moving ahead, one thing that you would like to do, I did not do it here. Starting with everything, just turn off the film grain, which we will get into it later. And here I've done the color boost, and the next I'm going to go into the film which we have already selected. I'm not going to go that. Now the best part about Dehancer is the film compression feature. What is film compression feature? What it does is it actually imitates the actual film look into your video. So what it does is basically handles the highlights and the skin tones and couple of the tonal ranges in a very film way and not the digital way, because digital highlights are pretty sharp enough, and then this film compression, it smoothens up those highlights for you to be able to emulate the exact film look that you're trying to achieve. So here I'm going to try and play with these couple of sliders and try to figure out what best suits what kind of colors and the white tones and how much impact I want it to happen on my digital footage and make it look what I am actually trying to achieve. The next one is the black and your white options, which I'm gonna try to see how my blacks and the whites are working out. I'm gonna be reducing it a bit because I don't like it to be so dark, and see the whites it's going too far away, and I think this looks pretty nice. Next, when going to the print is something when you put it on the disk and something like that. Mostly a lot of people use Kodak 2383 print film, and I'm gonna stick to that as well because it gives the more natural vibe to my video that I'm trying to color grade. And I'm gonna try and check what suits well. This is gonna be getting more warmer, and if I turn on to the right, it's gonna go get cooler. So I don't want that warm look into it, and I like to keep it just right above over here. Exposure, I can still figure out if I want more exposure or less. I can just work around my way over here. Contrast, if I need more, I can just put a little bit. And the color density, if I see, no, I don't want too far, just very. And the saturation as is, if I want to reduce, I don't want to, but I can just leave it there as is. Now color head, this will help you work around with your yellows, the blues, the magentas, the green, cyan and the red. And once I enable this, here you can even tone your shadows and the midtones and the highlights as whatever the color grade or the color grade you like. This is going too warmer. Let me go towards the blue, a little bit towards the blue, and I'm gonna introduce the green tint a little bit. If I go magenta, no, I am not liking the look. I'm gonna introduce the green a little bit over here. That's red, that's nice. And this one also a slightly tad bit to the left. Yeah, that's it. And then I can see my shadows. If I want a cooler shadow or a warmer shadow, I like to go with a little warm side and mid-tones. Let me see what it's giving me over here, and I'll keep a little bit right over here. My highlights, I want cooler highlights or I want warmer highlights. I like to get a little bit warmer highlights because I want to show that a little contrast over there. Then moving down to grain is something which you can incorporate in that. If I enable, and you see the 35 mm is of a larger, you can choose from 8 mm to 65 mm. If I do, this is getting more into, if I zoom into the picture, here you can see this is a bigger grain and then a 65 mm which is a smaller grain. I like to go with the 35 mm 250 ISO. This is kind of a very natural one. If you want to customize your grains as well, you can go into the custom options, see the size what you want. I want to keep it just where it is a little bit visible and not go far beyond into that setup. Then when you go into the halation part, the halation, what it does is it kind of creates that halation effect around your highlights. So if you see that glooming reddishness that is coming along. I like keep it with the 35 mm, and this is very subtle. Let's see what 65 mm gives me. No, let's 16 mm that it gives, which is kind of amazing. You can also work around in the custom format over here. Put it on the left, the source limiter, it's gonna go to the maximum setting that you are trying to achieve. The smoothness, I like to keep it a little bit over here. And also you can increase your diffusion. So if I go to the farther right, you can see in the highlights over here that it has produced a lot of halation, which I don't want. I think I'll keep it somewhere here, and if you see the global diffusion, it's gonna create that globally throughout the image and affect the whole video, which no, I don't want that. I'm gonna increase a little bit, and then you can even amplify and go work around your way through it. I'm gonna keep it where it was at 70. The hue, again, you can change the color from red to blue or something like that, and I'm gonna keep it here itself. The blue compensation, if you go far beyond, is gonna create more of the cooler tone in that. And yes, you can also control the impact how much you want. Or if you can see, if I reduce the whole halation, it's gone, and if I go beyond and the halation is there, but I'll keep it at the 70 mark, which is something that I am really liking it. The bloom, again, what it does is blooms gives that the bloomy effect, that dreamy vibe that you're trying to get into those wedding videos, and show that the couple chemistry out over there. You can again choose out from the 8 mm, which is quite more, the 65 mm, which is a little less, but no, I like to keep it at 16. Very natural sort of blooming effect that it gives. Then moving down to the film damage. Now what film damage is, it's going to introduce that dust and the cracks and the scratches that generally is there. So if I play this video, you can always see the film damage effect that comes in. Let me do the custom, and you can here set the dust amount, how much you want. Now coming down to vignette, you can either use it in the very beginning or at the end. What it does is it introduces a vignette on the corners, and it kind of introduces more you can say more contrast. So I don't want to increase that much, maybe just a little bit, and that's more like it. It's without the vignette, with the vignette, so it kind of gets more dramatic out over here. And so see, as you saw, within just 10 minutes we were able to achieve that dreamy look. And if you want to use this plugin, you can check the link in the description, and you can also use my promo code Sampann Narang to get a 10% discount. And the best part about this is it's a one-time pay and you can use it for lifetime, whereas any other plugin or a software that you're going to be using for color grading requires a subscription. But the best part about this is you pay it once and use it lifetime. So this is the video that I wanted to share with you guys and make your life easier when it comes to color grade. So thank you so much for watching until the end. Do hit that subscribe button, and also share it with all your photographer and even the color grading people who love to color grade and they want to make the process faster and effective. Do share it with them and do try it for yourself. And then I'll see you in the next one. See ya.